Welcome to the Tank Podcast. In this week's episode, Giovanni Fassina, director of the ELSC, provides legal advice and support for anyone threatened with legal action for advocating for Palestinian rights in Europe and the UK.
Hi, my name is Giovanni Fassina, and I am the Executive Director of the European Legal Support Center, which is the first and only organization of movement lawyers mandated to defend and empower the Palestine solidarity movement through legal means. I come from Venice, and I've been involved into this since I was a teenager. I was always active in political work. I come from an anti-fascist family. And I've been active in anti-fascist groups and collectives since indeed high school. And in our groups, Palestine was always a thing, like solidarity with Palestine and other oppressed people, like with Kurds or for Chiapas, was always really, really important for our work. So when I started studying law at university, I had the chance to visit Palestine, and I started going there every summer, volunteering for some organizations. And that's how I basically got involved into this. I graduated, I became a lawyer, and then I was recruited for establishing the center in 2019. Yeah, our organization, the three pillars are monitor, defend, and empower. Monitor, we collect data and we monitor the incidents of repressions against advocates for Palestinian rights. One of the major issues we are facing right now is that there is not available data about anti-Palestinian racism. And every time these cases happen, mainstream media or the general public think that these cases are actually isolated. So with our monitor pillar, we aim to show that these incidents are actually systematic and that there is a clear pattern of repression within European civil society against people speaking out for Palestine. Then defend means we provide legal assistance and legal support, which means we defend students, academics, activists, cultural organizations, artists, and Palestinian civil society organizations facing a wide range of issues. People being dismissed, people being smeared, events get cancelled. And so we have legal officer in the UK, Netherlands, Germany, and one legal officer who is only assisting Palestinian civil society organizations who have issues with banks or financial service providers or donors. So the client reaches out to us and we advise them, and then we have a network of lawyers in each country. And then we work together with these lawyers to solve the cases, basically. We work pro bono, which means that our clients don't have to pay. And we have a legal aid fund that we use for supporting litigation when it's needed. And empower means we empower Palestinian civil society, bringing accountability against those corporations or governments that are responsible and complicit for war crimes in Palestine. So we try to develop lawsuits and legal actions to make pressure against those companies and those governments, stopping them from profiting from war crimes, basically. So the major trends we see right now is, first of all, the use of policies to chilling speech about Palestine. So Europe, like freedom of speech is the cornerstone of liberal democracies in all Europe. Okay, so it's really difficult to suppress this right. So in order to do so, what we noticed in the last years is the proliferations of non-legally binding measures or policies to prevent people from speaking out. For instance, in Germany, the German parliament and many city councils adopted non-legally binding motions equating the boycott, divestment and sanction movement, the BDS movement, with anti-Semitism. denouncing, the movement as anti-Semitic. This emotion is not legally binding. However, many pro-Palestine groups got their rooms, they couldn't access to public facilities or have funded denied on the light of this policy, for instance. Another issue is the implementation of the so-called IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Is a definition that equates anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism. And this definition has been adopted by universities, public bodies, and university and many public bodies. Again, this is the major trend we see, because when a university adopts such a policy, we saw that then complaints have been made against students speaking out for Palestine. And since the definition is in their disciplinary procedures, then they use it as a main tool as a reference point for assessing anti-Semitism complaint. And this is really, really an issue. So again, they know very well they cannot pass laws for banning free speech, so they are using policies. However, what we're witnessing right now after 7 October is an increase of criminalization. In Germany, the police banned any form of public symbol connected to Palestine. There are some neighborhoods right now in Berlin, in Kreuzberg, in Neukölln, where if you wear a keffiyeh, you're going to be arrested. So we also use of policies, I would say, an increase of police violence, especially after the 7 of October. But actually, just to give you an example, recently we had the judgment in the Netherlands where a court acknowledged that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. This chant is a form of protected speech. Now, I must say that there are some differences in each country, but overall, freedom of expression is heavily protected by the European Convention of Human Rights. Now, each European country, each European judge, national judge, must interpret national legislation in the light of the judgments coming from the European Convention of Human Rights, which gives a huge protection from rights such as freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. And that's why people should not be deterred or be afraid when we face violent attacks, because most of the times their rights are heavily protected by this legislation. So usually we take on two types of different cases: defensive cases, so-called, or offensive. Defensive cases are where people are under a serious threat of their rights being limited and impacted. So people risk maybe to be fired, or people risk being disciplined, and we intervene in this case and we make our best to prevent this from happening. Then we have offensive cases. Offensive cases are cases where the damage already happened. So, like a person has been already dismissed, or there has been a smear campaign on newspaper and the reputation of the person has been already heavily impacted. And the major issues we're seeing in this case is that when people face this problem, face these attacks, are afraid, and they don't want to speak out, and they don't want to push back. So for us, we do offensive cases when we try to hold the perpetrators of these attacks accountable. And this is, for us, it's always offensive, because in these ways we are breaking the wall of silence surrounding this type of attacks. And I must say that since 2019, we have a 95% success rate. So it's important to highlight that it's absolutely possible to push back. And most of the time we win. We win because we are on the right side of the law, of course, and also we are on the right side of the history. And these two things together make us winning most of the time. I also would like to stress that our legal work is informed by is rooted into movement lawyering. So we're being movement lawyers means that we work for a political movement, the Palestine Solidarity Movement. So we work hand in hand with civil society organizations and activist group. So in Europe and in Palestine. So the victories is not just victories of our organization, are victories of the world movement. And we're really thankful to organizations Palestinian organizations such as Al-Haq, Adamir, or European ones such as the British Palestinian Council, and Palestine Institute for Public Diplomacy. It's just by working with this amazing coalition of organizations that we succeed to win all the time. Well, because in my opinion, Palestine is not an isolated issue. What's going on now in Palestine, first, is the outcome of decades of violence and occupation and apartheid. And this type of violence has been happening, of course, in Palestine. But on the other side, in Europe, we have been witnessing the last 15 years a dehumanization narrative against, for instance, migrants. Okay? So, and this, of course, is connected with the rise of far-right parties Europe-wide. So we witness rise of far-right parties, a narrative that dehumanize migrants, or for instance also dehumanize migrants and criminalize NGOs having people in the Mediterranean. And what we are witnessing now in Palestine, actually, is the dehumanization again of Palestinians. So I think that people are finally connecting the dots and realizing that the issue of structural racism in Europe, okay, are the main cause for what's going on now in Palestine. The reason why Western governments are green-lighting the current genocide is because they are acting in line with their colonial past. And people do understand this pretty well, and that's why they keep protesting, and number of people is growing. So, in my opinion, like, there is a shift because all these political issues are all intertwined, and Palestine is not an isolated political cause. It's a global cause. That's why this creates a huge amount of solidarity. I think that this is a turning point, and I think there is no way back, in a sense that, unfortunately, the situation on the ground, I would say, is not going to be better, even if Israel withdraw from Gaza, and I'm pretty skeptical they're going to do that. So I think that indeed is a turning point in terms of violence, but also is a turning point in terms of accountability and impunity. So I think people are extremely tired of the lack of accountability and of impunity surrounding this. And even if Israel would withdraw, people will keep demanding justice for what happened. Because the scale of what we've been witnessing, we are constantly witnessing, even now when I'm talking, is unprecedented. And so it's going to be, I would say, the final round where we are going to finally witness whether Europe stand for their so-called core liberal values, or whether double standards actually are the real values that we are pushing and that we are attached to. People are tired of this, and they want answers. So I'm really hopeful and kind of optimistic that people keep demanding justice even after. Well, you should contact us. You should contact us. On our website, on our Instagram, we have an intake form. It takes 30 seconds to fill it out. When you fill out the form, one of our legal officers will get back to you immediately. So the most important thing is don't feel intimidated, don't feel scared, because we have your back, literally. And as I said, 95% of the time we win. And then I also would like to stress that when our legal support is pro bono, is for free. And I would really strongly encourage any one of your followers to support our organization and support our legal aid fund. We're looking to reach 1,000 monthly small donors. Of €5 a month means a lot to us, because enable us to have this legal aid fund and keep providing legal support for free for everyone. Contact us and we're going to be there.
To hear more podcasts from Tank, You can subscribe on all major podcast platforms or follow us on SoundCloud. The theme music for this podcast is by Himera.